Hello and welcome to Encore. Coming up in the show. My guest today has turned his hand to opera, musicals, theatre and even exhibitions. A master of mise en scène, Robert Carsen's responsible for some of the most creative staging in performance today. His latest production of the Beggars Opera tackles the class system, social privilege and poverty in the 18th century, but also today. He's here to tell us more. Robert Carsen, thank you so much for joining us. Among your various projects on stage at the moment is the Beggars Opera here in Paris at the Bouffe du Nord Theatre. That's an adaptation of a satirical opera from 1728, I believe. It's a reference for anyone who studies theatre. It's been done and redone over the years and the centuries. So what was the major modern aspect you wanted to bring to this 2018 version?
Well, actually, what we wanted to bring was to try to capture as much the original spirit of subversion that was in the original piece. It's called the Beggars Opera, but it's really correctly often described as the first musical because it's a play with songs. And John Gay set out to mob up gently the passion for Italian opera that had taken over in London at the time. I mean, Handel had been writing his operas and wowing the London theatre scene for over 15 years. And some people thought this very extravagant, exotic foreign entertainment sung in a language that nobody spoke with extravagant sets and castrati singers. It was about time to have something a little bit more homegrown. And so John Gay encouraged by his friends, created this very subversive piece where the cast of characters are criminals, prostitutes, corrupt officials. A great deal of it is set in prison or in low-dive bars. Stolen goods are what's mostly handled on the stage. And the piece was a huge success when it first came out in 1728. And so with William Christian Les Arts Florissants, tackling this early 18th century work, we decided that we wanted to keep this very modern spirit and to continue the satire, but of course the satirical references to Sir Robert Walpole's government and things like that are in the original don't mean anything to an audience today. So together with Ian Burton, I rewrote the text, following more or less the storyline, but making it set in a kind of London today where they're making all this money mostly from drug deals and things like that. And we have quite a lot of fun at the end as well with the kind of subversive approach to what might happen in the future with the new government if the present one were to fall, and gently indicating that there may be a certain amount of criminal activity present in politicians worldwide.
Well, indeed. Well, let's take a look at that production. This is a taste of the Beggars Opera at the Bouffe du Nord here in Paris. We see some of the characters there in the pub, and I must say my ears pricked up when I heard the phrases strong and stable and for the many, not the few, which will be recognised by anyone who follows British politics. What are you trying to say about the UK government right now?
Well, there's a lot of food for thought. There are a lot of easy politicians' catchphrases that come out in a piece like this, which were in the original as well. And I think it's quite a cynical piece in the sense that it sets out to say right from the beginning that essentially man is a greedy animal, that people are mostly motivated by self-interest, and it's a dog-eat-dog world, and if you want to succeed, you have to just look out your own back. Having said that, there's also a certain honesty amongst these thieves. Macheath, who is the hero, if you like. All the girls fall in love with him. He's this great sort of Robin Hood-style character who takes all the money and sort of dishes it out with great largesse for the people who work with him. And he himself, you never actually see him involved in any particular criminal activity. You don't see him killing anyone. You don't see him betraying anyone. But he is the kind of the anti-hero. But of course, it's also he has six or seven girls who he's stringing along. We see it very closely with two.
I wanted to come to that, in fact, the two women who are involved there, the two female characters. There is a good old-fashioned love story of sorts in the Beggars Opera, comical as it is. Here's the very enamoured Polly Peachum, played by Kate Batter. So we see two female characters there, Polly and Lucy, who could be seen as victims of the men in their lives, corrupt dads and a philandering husband. Do you believe that, like one character says, love makes idiots of us all women?
Well, it can do. I mean, this particular text, as I say, it's a satire, and you can take from it what you want. The girls, particularly in our day and age, it's quite a lot of this is quite difficult to take completely seriously. It's this idea that that each of these girls thinks that she can change the man that she's in love with and to be hers forever, and of course it's not possible. McKeith is a kind of Don Giovanni figure. We need him because he represents a kind of use of the divine energy that drives us forward, sexual or otherwise, and he can't be held down by any one girl. But they all kind of love him, and there's something heroic about the way he deals with all the situations he's in. Mm-hmm. Of course, in the play, he's eventually going to be hung for his crimes, and particularly because Polly Peachum's parents want to sell him out and get the reward money for his death. And of course, there is a happy end, which was put into the original Beggars Opera, making fun of the happy endings that take place in opera. And so we also have engineered our own version of that happy ending.
Indeed. Now, at the moment, you have a lot of different shows going on all over the world at the same time. In fact, your production of A Midsummer Night's Dream is still being performed 27 years on, everywhere from Bergen to Beijing. How do you keep up with all of these different projects scattered across the globe?
Well, when you have a project, for example, like Midsummer Night's Dream, which we first did at Aix-en-Provence, as you say, 27 years ago, I've got wonderful assistants. So when they're remounted, I have them to look after, and I come in if I can for the last couple of weeks. We just had the Midsummer Night's Dream at the English National Opera, and I was there for the last 10 days or so. I try to join in with the shows if I can, because you want to shape it, especially for each new theatre it goes to, so it doesn't just look like it's on a road show and landing up somewhere.
Mm-hmm, very well-oiled machine, it must be.
Yeah, but it has to be made to fit, at the end of the day, it's haute couture and not pret-à-porter. You want to make it feel that it really fits in that theatre. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to come to another Shakespeare that you've directed, actually, which is here in Paris at the moment, The Tempest at the Comédie Française. We spoke to the actor who plays Prospero in that production about working with you on the play.
It's
his experience as an opera director that's given us a new vision, different to other directors that we've worked with. He's used to working with singers and musicians, and it's nice to have a director who's efficient and decisive.
Now, the Comédie Française is quite the reference here, a theatre that was originally founded by Molière, among others. What would you say is different about working here in France with French actors?
I don't think there's really any difference working with French actors or Italian actors or English actors. And there isn't really that much difference either working with singers or actors. I mean, when you work on a piece of musical theatre, which is what the Beggars Opera is, and we have cast it with young performers from the British Music Theatre who can sing, who can dance, who can act. Maybe there's just a slight difference in the process. For example, when you work with opera singers, it's actually in their contract that they have to come completely knowing all the words and the music. Whereas actors, like to have the text with them, and they learn their text as they're rehearsing on it. In opera, there isn't time for that, and because so often it's in a foreign language, if they didn't know it beforehand, you would really have troubles. Getting through to the end of the rehearsals. apart from that, the process is very similar in that you have to actually be very responsive to the actors, to the singers, seeing what they need. Some of them who like to go faster, others who need more time, and while you try to figure out how to structure the thing.
Well, finally, I wanted to come to another production that you've pointed us in the direction of a fellow theatrical practitioner for your cultural highlight of the moment, Simon McBurney, who's been on the stage here in Paris performing The Encounter. It's a very singular experience, I can say. Could you tell us what you enjoyed about it?
Well, I thought it was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen in every respect. I thought as the conception of this piece to create a full-length work around this kind of social cultural exploration. The way in which Simon McBurney crafted, the way in which he performed it, or in a way lived it rather than performed it, because it's a show unlike any other. You are taken into this experience through. It's a very oral experience. Everyone has a headset. And at first you think, oh, this is going to be some sort of technological gimmick. But it doesn't work out to be that way at all. And it becomes a very, very moving experience. And also the fragility of the actor all by himself in this kind of vast soundstage, reliving his experiences in the jungle, in the Amazon. It's one of the most powerful, moving things I have seen. And I was particularly happy to see it because colleagues of mine who I work with, video designers and set designers, had worked on this, and I'd heard about it for a while, and I was really happy to see it, and it's one of the most memorable things I've seen, actually, in a long time.
Yeah, unique. Robert Carsen, thank you so much for joining us today. The Beggars Opera is on at the Bouffe du Nord Theatre. Orpheus and Eurydice also opening at the end of May at the Théâtre des Champs-Élysées. We'll leave you with a taste of The Encounter and Simon McBurney's retelling of it at the Théâtre de l'Odéon. Remember to check out our website, and you can also keep up with Encore on social media too. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
And if I were to breathe in your ear, your brain would tell you that I was really breathing in your ear, and it might even start to get hot.
He didn't speak to me. I think he spoke to me without words. Just as Barnacle undid my spell by running counterclockwise, I could be the crack between here and there, the crack through which another time, our time, might fly.